Hello and welcome to Thursday Confessions. Today I wanted to speak about the parallels between artistic research and Indigenous research. It is more of a serious topic this time, so I come prepared with some notes even, and I'm intending to do a bit more structured conversation, or rather a monologue. But yes, so today, in order to make it easier for you, I will tell you what I'm going to speak about, and then you can go down to the description of this episode and you can choose which part of it you want to listen to in case you want to skip some. So, in the beginning, I'm going to speak about artistic research in general, what it is, and why we make it. And then I'm going to cover my personal experience to do with artistic research and Indigenous research coming into the picture of artistic research. And from there, I will move on to speak about the three parallels between artistic research and Indigenous research. For sure, there are many more of such parallels, but I will limit myself to these three for now, and I will ask you to share your thoughts and perhaps more similarities between artistic and Indigenous research that you spotted in the comments below. I would really appreciate your opinions about it. So, but to begin with the definition of artistic research, because many researchers have different and slightly varying definitions of what artistic research is, I wanted to cover this part and to tell you what kind of definition I'm referring to when I speak about artistic research. And because I come from the Lithuanian Academy of Music and Theatre, and it has a sort of a certain understanding of artistic research as every other institution does. And in this institution, we refer mainly to the ideas of Henk Borgdorff, who is the founder of Society for Artistic Research and a very famous theoretician when it comes to artistic research. He was also the president of the Society of Artistic Research until 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And so his impact on artistic research is quite huge, and it starts with his monography, which was called The Conflict of the Faculties, Perspectives on Artistic Research in Academia. And in there, he sort of spoke about art research and divided it into three categories, which are pretty straightforward, and I'm going to speak about them now in order to introduce the concept of artistic research the way I understand it. So according to Borgdorff, there is research on the arts, so that includes art criticism and the history of art, where art is considered an object. Then there is research for the arts, where art is considered to be an objective. So this kind of research involves looking for new ways how to improve artistic performance. And the third one, the most complicated, but at the same time the most exciting one for me, is research in the arts. And this is the idea that that artist studies art from the inside using his or her own methods and looking for his or her own way to improve the skill, the craft, and perhaps bring in some new ideas about how to do this better. So I am a big fan of artistic research from within the arts, and therefore I wanted to speak about this type of research today. So in essence, what Borgdorff is saying is that artistic research is a certain subcategory of art research, which is special because it is being performed by the artists from within the arts field. And this makes it a little bit complicated, as I said. And that's where the first similarity or first parallel with indigenous research comes from. But before I cover that, I wanted to speak about my own personal practice and how I brought indigenous knowledge into my artistic research, doctoral artistic research. So, because I really did it intuitively, I didn't even know that there is a comparison between indigenous and artistic research, although probably I could have figured that out. But at the time, it wasn't on my mind. It's just that I started my research in theater directing, and I was very curious to investigate the audience engagement topic. And so what I did, I sort of recollected what were the most powerful performative experiences where I felt engaged. And I realized that actually one of the most powerful experiences happened outside of the theater auditorium, and it was when I witnessed Maori bodywork practice. I have witnessed it several years back before actually even remembering it, so that means it really left an impact on me. And it was a sort of a performance, which was a combination of touch, massage, and dance, but it really looked like two bodies sort of melting into each other in a performative embrace. It was very unusual and aesthetically engaging for me. And that's why, in order to understand how it works, I realized I actually need to study it and perhaps learn to do it myself, because theoretical knowledge in such cases is not actually sufficient. And so I found out later that this Maori bodywork practice is coming from indigenous knowledge of the Polynesian islands. And Polynesia is a sort of triangle in the Pacific Ocean, which is cornered by Easter Island, Hawaii, and New Zealand, as you may know. And the inventor or the creator of this bodywork practice, which is a modern bodywork practice, but rooted in the tradition of Polynesian cultures. The creator was a Maori person himself, Hemi Fox, and he systemized this knowledge and made it into a modern healing modality, which was designed to be used by a contemporary person, but still rooted in this indigenous knowledge. And so I embarked on the training journey of this Maori bodywork practice, and I learned a lot. My eyes have been opened to a totally different perspective on life and art making, because this training took me all the way to New Zealand, where we actually did some practical work on the sacred Maori grounds in Waikaremoana Marae and other maraes there. I'm eternally grateful to the locals who accepted us and allowed us to stay there and witness the rituals and the practices. And it really has changed me somehow. And therefore, I felt it would not be fair not to mention this experience in my doctoral research, because it really has changed me significantly, but I couldn't find a suitable description as to how to really speak about it and how to speak about all those profound transformations that happened to me as a person and as an artist when I even superficially touched this indigenous knowledge. So I left it like that. I did mention it in my arts project, but it wasn't the main focus, because I still struggle to find the words as to how to describe it. And that's why, I guess, when I started reading about artistic research methodology in the book called Artistic Research Methodology, Narrative, Public and Power, Narrative, Power and Public. I will put a reference to this book and its authors in the description of this episode. And in this book, I found a quote. I will read it now for you. In terms of their relationship with scientific knowledge, the indigenous knowledge faces a wall of articulation. So this wall of articulation somehow really felt familiar to me. this quote really resonated with me. And I did realize that this is exactly the similarity that connects the artistic research to the indigenous research, which I did not somehow realize before, but now it became very obvious. And this wall of communication or wall of articulation is still not broken, let's say, even though artistic research as well as indigenous research gains more and more importance in the world of academia. And there are some notable examples how this wall has been broken. The example that stuck with me was that of a reawakening of Polynesian navigation, or rediscovery, let's put it this way. Polynesian navigation is a practice, navigation method basically, which is being used by the Polynesians, obviously. And it has almost been lost back in the 1960s because obviously the colonizers came and little by little they made this knowledge erode from the memories of the locals, because obviously it was so difficult for them to believe that this Polynesian navigation exists, because this navigation was non-instrumental, it didn't require any modern technology, and it was rooted in the connection of the navigator with the stars and the sun and the understanding of the currents and the winds. Basically, it was relying on listening to the forces of nature. And therefore, to the Western mind, it seemed a little bit unbelievable that somebody could actually be so acutely attuned to those forces and those signs in nature that they could navigate the canoes, the voyaging canoes, in between the Pacific Islands, which are scattered all over the place in the vastness of the Pacific Ocean. And so it came to the point where even the locals stopped believing this idea that they actually have this knowledge of Polynesian navigation. But in 1975, yes, because now it's been 50 years of the celebration of this recovery of this ancient art and science of Polynesian navigation. So in 1975, there was an amazing collaborative event that took place where the academics from anthropology and other fields collaborated with the locals in Hawaii and other Pacific islands and actually rebuilt a Polynesian voyaging canoe according to historical knowledge. And they took this canoe, her name was Hōkūleʻa, and using Polynesian navigation, so without any modern technology, navigated it from Hawaii all the way to Tahiti. And that's how this knowledge was re-established, and not only has it been used once again, but it actually survived because of this event, because after this trip, Polynesian Voyaging Society was established, or as a consequence of this trip, Polynesian Voyaging Society has been established, and now it is in charge of teaching future generations about the Polynesian navigation. So for me, this example very much shows the power of collaboration of academic knowledge and indigenous knowledge, and somehow gives me faith that the wall of articulation can be broken, and we can have significant achievements and significant new knowledge from these collaborations. But in order for that to happen, there needs to be one process which is taking place as we speak. And this is the second link that connects indigenous and artistic knowledge, and that is the process of decolonization. And when I say decolonization, I don't mean the decolonization of territories in the traditional sense, but really the decolonization of knowledge production structures. So basically, decolonization of the world of academia, which little by little is allowing more and more forms of articulation into that structure. And thanks to this, not only indigenous people can finally speak for themselves and express that knowledge in their own language, in their own ways, and use their own methods to study it or research it. But also artistic research has this right too. If we look at the history of artistic research, or practice-based research as it is also commonly called, we will be able to see that it's quite a new territory in academia, or at least on a doctoral level, it is a new territory, because the first doctoral degree started being awarded somewhere in the 90s. So according to the information that I found, the first doctoral programs in practice-based research have been started in 1996. If I'm not mistaken, of course, it might be even earlier a little bit, but not too far back. If you know of any earlier dates where artistic research has been implemented on the doctoral level, let me know. I believe it might have been happening in the US, but in Europe, 1996 seems to be the date. So yeah, it's almost 30 years now that we are able to do practice-based or artistic research on the doctoral level. And thanks to this, I have also been a part of it. And I am definitely very happy about it, but also it shows how much further ahead we have to go still, and how much we need to learn still, and how much decolonization still needs to happen within the academic structures in order to accommodate these new ways of researching the world. New but old ways of researching the world, because they have actually really always existed, but it's only now that academia allows those ways to enter its circles. And this brings me to the third point, where artistic research and indigenous research intersect, and this point is called storytelling. I'm surprised how it never occurred to me before, but actually, yes, one of the main methods in indigenous research is storytelling, because through storytelling they don't not only preserve the knowledge but also pass it on, and it is also very importantly used as a method which allows for this decolonization of the academic structures to take place. Because if before academic world has been studying indigenous nations from the third person perspective, as well as in the arts, as we mentioned, they were doing research on the indigenous cultures. Nowadays, thank God, we can actually study the indigenous people can research their own knowledge and communicate it in the way that they feel it's needed, and storytelling is becoming one of the main tools and has always been the main methods to research in indigenous knowledge. And when I come to think about it, intuitively, we also use storytelling in artistic research. Certainly I do, but I never thought of it as a method. And so this is some food for thought for me, because obviously what else is art if not the way to tell a story? So here are a few insights about the parallels between artistic and indigenous research. If you have any more ideas on that, please feel free to share them in the comments. And for now, I will say goodbye and see you next Thursday. Thank you.